All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, we will call to order the Architectural Board Review for September 21st of 2020 and start with our roll call, please.
Thank you. This is Mary. I will take the roll call. We have Chair Moore.
Here.
Vice Chair Six.
Here.
Board Member Black.
Here.
Board Member Olson.
Here.
And Board Member Whalen.
Here.
And Board Member Cunningham and Watkins will be absent today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And moving on to general business, and we will open public comment where we invite any member of the public to address the board for up to 2 minutes on a subject within our jurisdiction that is not on the agenda for today's discussion. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak?
And Mr. Chair, if I could just ask Andrew Bermond, if you wouldn't mind going to the how to make an oral public comment slide, and then I'm going to ask Ted Hamilton to come on to do general public comment. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we did not receive any written items of public comment for today's hearing, and as Chair Moore said, if you are in attendance and you would like to give verbal public comment, please do so by clicking the raise your hand icon on the GoToWebinar control panel. We have one person in attendance, Mr. Richard Clausen, raising his hand. So Mr. Clausen, I will unmute you, and then when you begin speaking, you will have 2 minutes to give your comments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hamilton and Chair Moore. I have written to staff about this in the perhaps distant past. I'm not an architect, but I do review the drawings that now are submitted in digital form and posted on the website. And I find that with different computer magnifications, I'm probably up against the same dilemma that board members are, in that when you're looking at a drawing, it is difficult to determine exact measurements of that are not already called out. And I'm not sure what the device is called, whether it's a bar line or a bar graph, or something that it doesn't just say that 1 inch equals, or 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot, or in the case of your the one item on your agenda today, I think that the measurement is specified as 1 inch equals 1,000 feet, something like that. But it is very difficult for members of the public to know what dimensions are being represented on pages without that device. And again, I apologize, I don't know the name of it, but it calls out a particular length and says, this is 100 feet, or this is 25 feet, or any range in there. It seems like it would be a simple thing to ask architects and applicants to put on each page of their drawings, so that no matter what magnification we view it, we can transfer that to the dimension that we're trying to measure. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. I think you are referring to a graphic scale. That's the terminology for it. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak?
Mr. Chair, at this time, I do not see any other members of the public who would like to speak.
Good. Back to you.
Okay, then we will close public comment and move on to approval of the minutes for September 8th. Does anyone have any edits or changes?
Move we approve as presented.
Okay,
I second it under discussion.
great.
If we could go down to, oh gosh, Gradine's project, I think it was number 3. Yeah, under the motion. Down further. Yeah, right here, right there. And motion number 2, provide planters for any trees in the parking lots provide planters for trees for some trees in the subterranean parking garage is, I think, our intention there, Kevin.
Okay, I wasn't present for that item, so can't help you with that.
Does everybody agree that was the gist that they were proposing because of costs and logistics not to provide trees above the subterranean garage, and we felt it important for them to do so. So it would read, provide planters for trees located at, let's say, locate and provide planters for trees above the subterranean parking garage.
That's better.
Yeah, that's better. Do you accept that?
I do.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Great. Well, let's have our vote. Please.
All right. So we have Chair Moore.
Yes.
Vice Chair Six.
Yes.
Board Member Black.
Yes.
Board Member Olson.
Yes.
And Board Member Whalen.
Yes.
All right. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and the approval of consent minutes for September 14th.
So moved.
If we could have those read.
And Mr. Chair, normally I believe staff would be reading these, or at least that's how we do it over at Single Family Design Board.
Mhm.
If acceptable, I'll go ahead and read the motion.
Please.
Okay. Andrew, if you could scroll down to the motion for each item, please. Scroll back up, please. I apologize. Yeah. So item A on the consent calendar was 335 East Gutierrez Street, and the motion was for review after final as submitted. Approval of review after final was submitted. Item B, 2980 State Street, and the motion was to continue indefinitely with comments. And for item C, 702 East Gutierrez Street, the motion was to continue indefinitely to the full board with comments. And item D, 2700 De La Vina Street, the motion was for approval of review after final as submitted. And I believe there's one more. Item E, 536 West Gutierrez Street. The motion was for project design approval and final approval with a condition.
Move we
Now-
accept presented.
Okay.
I second it. Leon,
Yeah.
do you have to sustain because of Paul Poirier on item D?
Yes.
Okay. So Richard, do you want to be the first?
I'll first it.
Okay. I will second that. And is there any discussion? No? Okay, let's have our vote.
All right. So we have Chair Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Six,
Yes.
Board Member Black,
Yes.
Board Member Olson,
Abstain.
and Board Member Whalen.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. And then moving on to September 21st consent calendar.
And Mr. Vermont, if you could please open up the consent minutes for the 21st. I'm sorry, consent was canceled, so we don't have minutes for September 21st.
Okay, great. With that, we'll move on to any announcements or requests by applicants for continuances, etc. Anything from staff?
Mr. Chair, yes, staff does have an announcement regarding staffing changes. So short term, today I'm staffing our ABR, and my normal role is to staff the single family design board. I've been doing so since March, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. I'd like to partially introduce our next ABR staff member, Christina McGuire. She will be joining us from the zoning section. And Irma, I believe you had a longer introduction to make, so I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, good afternoon. Board members, I did want to formally introduce to you Christina McGuire, who is going to be the new staff member for the Architectural Board of Review. And as Ted indicated, she is coming to us from the zoning enforcement section, where she's been working with that team for approximately 2 years. And in that time, aside from doing the zoning enforcement aspect of it, she's also been very engaged in the Acela software program and its implementation, as well as writing new procedures for it. So she's very well versed in that particular aspect of our process. But before even coming back to the city, because she did work for the city back in the early 2000s, she did staff, by the way, the Architectural Board of Review, the Historic Landmarks Commission, and the Sign Committee. So she is kind of a reoccurring, coming back to us. And so we're very, very pleased to introduce her to you. And we hope that she is currently just going to be monitoring the meetings and before she actually takes over. So thank you for allowing me the time to introduce her.
Of course, and welcome. And good to have you on board again.
Welcome, Christina.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to working with you all.
Welcome, Christina.
All right. If that's it from staff, I don't believe we have any subcommittee reports. I doubt it. We can move on to our first and last item for today. All right. Do we have the applicant? Okay. Great. All right. So this is 100 Adams Road, and it's concept review for a proposal for a non-residential addition to the Santa Barbara Airport. Project entails installation of a 2,600 square foot modular building for airline offices on the north side of the John Jack T. Ricard terminal inside the airport operations area, security fence. Installation includes new ramps, stairs, and exterior lighting. Project requires review by Planning Commission for a coastal development permit and a development plan approval. So this is, again, a concept review. No final appealable decision will be made at this hearing, and this project requires compliance with the project compatibility analysis and the airport design guidelines. All right, if you could introduce yourselves.
Mr. Chair, I'm Andrew Bermond, the project planner for the airport, and Monisha Nani is the architect for this project, and she'll be walking us through the presentation. I just wanted to provide a little bit of framework about what makes this sort of an unusual project today, and that's the airport is entirely on one parcel, and so that parcel includes a number of historic resources, including one that's quite close to this, which is the Earl Ovington Historic Terminal. And so I just wanted to introduce the sort of the topic of the Ricard Terminal is the main building, which you think of if you've used the airport in the past 10 years. And the Ovington Terminal is the historic structure, the terminal that we had prior to 2011. So with that framework, I just wanted to introduce Monisha to walk us through the project plans.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you everyone for meeting today for this item. Andrew, do you mind going to the floor plans, please? Second page, please. So just to orient, can you go to the second page, please, Andrew?
Yes, it's it's lagging a little bit, so just bear with me.
Okay, sounds good.
And just as a reminder to applicants and board members, due to the remote meeting setting, there is sometimes a bit of a lag while the internet catches up to our navigation through the plans.
And Andrew, this is Ellen. It looks like you're on page 3 instead of 2. So I don't know if you're seeing page 2. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what he's saying.
All right. Good deal. Yeah. Sorry.
So I just wanted to orient everyone as to where this modular building will be located on site. And I'm not sure if I can show a Google view that shows it even more, but this is, you probably can't see my mouse, but basically this is the airport drive that leads you inside the airport, the historic terminal building right there with the new terminal. This is located behind the security fence of the Airport Operations Center, and the modular building's located right there. So just to orient it, behind a trellis, there's actually a trellis, a fence, and then a security fence that runs all along this side that isolates this building from the front portion of the airport. So Andrew, if you don't mind going to page 3 of the PDF. Okay, so, and this plan's good. The one on the left side is basically an enlarged plan showing the relationship of the new modular building with the existing terminal. It's approximately 24 feet away from the existing terminal, and it's about 10 feet away from the planter that you see right here. And the trellis that I was talking about, this right here is the trellis where the arrow ends, basically where the dashed line arrow ends, that edge is the trellis. And then the fence is along that walkway leading out of the terminal. The way it says path of travel, the fence is to the south of, actually to the east of that. The modular building itself, if you don't mind moving to the right, it's about 84 feet wide, and it's 36 feet deep on one side and 24 feet deep towards the airport side, towards the airport building side. If you don't mind moving to the elevations on the lower page. Right there, so you can see the elevation, east elevation, which is the airport drive side. You can see the trellis, the entry to the airport terminal, the new airport terminal right there. The trellis next to it, which is actually behind from that entry. The trellis is about 30 feet behind that entry. And then the fence and the building sitting right behind that. It's a pretty simple building. It's 1 hour rated, type 5B construction. It's 13 feet tall. It's going to be sitting on semi-permanent concrete footings, and it'll be laid on the existing paving itself. So we're not expecting any site work, grading, or any site work, earthwork related to this project. It starts at 13 feet, and by the time you get to the other end of the building, it's about 15 feet tall. So we have to add some ramps and the stairs. That'll be part of the modular building as well. Okay. So this side right here is so the one that's the west elevation runway side that shows you the entire length of that building from the runway side. Andrew, do you mind scrolling a little bit down so that they can see the north view? Sorry. The one in the middle at the bottom of the page, that's the north side of the terminal. And you can see the building, the proposed modular building in relationship to the existing terminal. So it's still below that existing window that provides great views. You know. If you don't mind going to the next page. These are some of the renderings that show you the relationship of the building again with the existing terminal. The idea is to not really highlight the building, but actually just make it blend with the existing terminal. But at the same time, not have, you know, very ornate features on it that takes away your attention from the existing building. And there are some photographs that show you what this area looks like. So the photograph that's E, the image that's E, that is that planter line where the building is going to sit about 10 feet away from that planter line right there. The image that named A facing southwest street side, that is the side you're looking at. So you can see that trellis with the fence, and that actually keeps continuing further down when you look at the B photograph right there. So that's the other fence, and then it turns into a chain link fence that separates the, you know, the secured area of the airport. The image G is where the building would be located there. And then image D again shows you that whole street side of what that area looks like. So the only thing you'll be able to see is the top of the building and a little bit of extension of the building above that trellis, which is what you see in the east elevation right there. So if you can, yeah. So all you can see is basically that about 10 feet of that building behind the chain link fence, but the remaining of it is really behind that steel fence right there. That's all I had in terms of our presentation.
Okay, thank you. So we will now open for public comment. Any member of the public would like to address the board about this project, please raise your hand and let us know.
And Mr. Berman, if you could once again bring up the public comment slide, please, just so that our viewers have the ability to see how to do this. Perfect. All right, and if you are attending this meeting and you'd like to give verbal public comment, now is your opportunity. You may do so by clicking the GoToWebinar control panel. The raise hand icon is indicated on screen. And once staff calls on you, you will have 2 minutes to speak. And we do have one person in the audience. We'll give them a few seconds to respond if they'd like to. And during that time, Mr. Chair, I can confirm that there's no written public comment for this item. And it looks like no one wishes to speak at this time, so we could move on to questions from the board.
Okay, we will close public comment and go to questions. Any board members have questions? Mr. Whalen, you popped up first. Do you have questions?
Okay, I have a few. Why there? Could you please talk about the site design in relationship to the function and the existing building? That is the function of the new proposed building and the existing building.
Mr. Chair and Board Member Whelan, if I could take a crack at answering your question. The airport master plan looked at 2 potential additions to the airline terminal in part of a 15-year program of development at the Santa Barbara Airport. And the north side of the airport was identified as the location where expansion of the terminal uses would be the best suited, because basically you have two main sides of an airline terminal. You have a what's called air side, that's where the airplanes are, and then land side, which is your your vehicular access. And so to the extent possible, you want to keep new development outside of those two spaces, because then you're greatly changing the form of those spaces. And so that really focused development either to the north side and on the south side. The north side is where the existing airline terminal ticket offices are currently. And since that's the use that's being expanded, these additional commercial airline offices would be adjacent to the other ones and would be closer to the airline ticket counters, which is where that distance from the office to the ticket counter is the highest traveled part of their operation. And so effectively, we were looking at what would ultimately be an expansion of the, an addition to the building would go in place of this as demand for gates required that. At the moment, we don't have such a pressing demand for gates, but there is a demand for airline office space, hence the reduced modular building project.
So a final follow-up question, would the eventual expansion of the main terminal ensure the removal of this semi-permanent structure?
I would say that additions to the north side of the airline terminal would require the removal of this modular building.
Thank you. That's all.
Okay. Mr. Black, any questions?
That has something to do with the question I had in my mind. So this building is considered somewhat temporary? I mean, the fact that it's modular?
Well, in our municipal code, anything that's around longer than 3 months is considered permanent development. So we're treating it as though it will be there for an undetermined amount of time. But I would say that if you rely on the airport master plan's forecasted demand, which is hardly a certainty, as the demand for gate space on the second floor of the airline terminal necessitates it, the airport would seek to expand the building and basically replace that office with offices in an addition.
In a permanent addition?
Yeah.
Okay. It's my only question.
Okay. Mr. Olson, questions?
Yes. Are there other modular buildings on the site now?
Not currently. Historically, the airline terminal has had a number of modular buildings as, especially as office space demands. You may remember SkyWest had one near the baggage tents that existed at the old airline terminal 10 plus years ago. But we don't have modular buildings in this part of the airport presently.
So you referred to a fence, and is that a chain link fence when you made references to fences?
Well, generally, yes. The airport operations area fence, which is the official airport term for the security fence, is normally a black chain link fence with barbed wire. In this area between the Ovington terminal and the proposed project, we have the iron fence that's depicted here on the east elevation.
So Andrew, if you can zoom into that photograph down below to the right-hand corner of that page, you can see the change in the fences. That's exactly what I was going to show on the Zoom on the Google map, but you can see where it transitions from a metal fence to a chain link fence right there. So most of the building will really be behind that metal fence. Only about 10 feet ends up extending further at an angle to that chain link fence, right? because it's not parallel to the chain link fence. The chain link fence actually curves.
And would you describe the trellis, and will there be plans for that, details for the trellis?
No, so the trellis is the existing trellis that you see in that same image. You see like 3 bays of that trellis, basically. There are 3 bays of this trellis. I think there's another photograph up above that shows the trellis a little better. Yeah.
So the new trellis will emulate the old trellis?
We won't have any new trellis. There is no new trellis. The building sits behind this existing trellis. Building sits right where that white car is, basically.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Those are my only questions.
Okay. Richard, any questions?
Yes, I just want to understand the temporary or the temporariness of this. First of all, these are ticket offices for the public to come through and buy their tickets?
Mr. Chair and Board Member 6, that's not correct. The airline ticket office is again another term of art in aviation to describe the back of house offices for the commercial airline employees. So we're talking about break room. If someone has left their baggage, it gets stored in that area. Locker rooms are typically in this space, as well as the manager's office.
So it's all back of staff?
That's
Back of
correct.
back
Yes.
of house. Okay. And will there be any air conditioning units on the roof? How is this building air conditioned?
It will have its unit. It's not going to be on the roof. It's going to be attached to the side of the building. So it'll have its own standalone unit.
So there'll be nothing on the roof
Right.
except for minor vents and so forth, correct?
Exactly.
Is there a parapet?
No, the building's only 13 feet tall, so we're not really doing any parapet for that building. It's the minimum that they need above the roof of the modular building. So this is one of the pre-manufactured modular buildings. They're just putting 2 of the pre-manufactured together to create one building.
And I'd like to add, that,
Yes.
if I can, that a parapet wall would come close to encroaching on the views from the north windows near gates 4 and 5. And so airport staff felt that might be doing more harm than good in that case.
I understand you, but no matter what, you'll be looking down on that roof as you go up to those windows. Is the modular system, is the proportions of the windows and the window types dictated by the modular system, or is there flexibility there?
There's very, as you know, all the modulars, they're very limited flexibility in terms of what you can do in terms of the window systems. It would be really challenging to get something that's very Spanish looking. We could match the color, but we would be limited in terms of what we could do with those windows.
So the size and proportion of those windows, the width and the height of the windows is very limited, or do you have flexibility?
I think the width and the height has a little bit more flexibility.
Okay. And then just a minor detail on the floor plan, on the site plan, this building and the, I guess it would be the, where it touches the concrete curved wall, that interface, you're going to butt right against that wall.
It's, we're still waiting for a detailed site survey to verify that, but yes, it's very limited gap between the existing curved concrete curb and this building.
Okay, and the height and therefore the reason for, another question, the height and the reason for the length of ramp is, what determines the height off of the existing pavement? Is there any flexibility there to where you can eliminate or shorten the ramp?
It
Uh,
comes
Miss-
with standard footing. That's a problem. It comes with standard footing design that's pre-approved for these modulars that are state pre-approved. So that's really what's driving the height of where the modular floor level would be. On top of that, that pavement right there slopes away from the building significantly. So at the building, where the building's actually located to the other end of the building, by the time we get to that 84 feet, the paving is sloping by 2 feet in that distance.
I get it. Okay. And when normally we don't go this technical, but
Yeah.
in understanding the temporariness of this, I see in your floor plan that you have sinks and so forth. Are you going to have to disrupt the ground for sewer and so forth?
We would have to do plumbing and sewer, water and sewer connections.
Okay, thank you. No, those are my questions.
Okay, thank you. And to follow up on Mr. Six's question, so as you pointed out, as you're standing there waiting for your flight, looking out at the windows at the mountains, you will definitely catch this roof in your view. What is the roofing material and what options are available?
So the roofing material right now is, making sure I'm telling you the right stuff. It's OSB roof decking with a white TPO.
The white PVC
Yeah, PVC,
roof?
exactly. It's a white PVC. We could go gray PVC, but that's pretty much the two options that we'll be looking at for this roof.
Mhm. Okay, and which side are you going to hang the HVAC from?
We haven't really gotten into that detail yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at your notes about what is driving the location of it as far as separations and everything. So you're at 24'2" from the building.
Right.
And that's,
It's a imaginary line.
is there a
that
reason that
gets
it
to
can't
zoom?
snug
Yeah.
in close?
Yeah, it's a little hard to read. It's too close. We're assuming a 15-foot imaginary line from the modular building. And then there's about 8'11". It's approximately 9 feet from the existing building. We could bring it closer. The reason we weren't bringing it closer is aligning it with that walkway. The building is 1 hour rated. The exterior walls are 1 hour rated.
Right. I understand that. I'm just, okay. So you could bring this building closer to the terminal.
Yes, but I think we start getting really tight. The pinch point is that existing curb and the planter. The existing curb on the runway side and the planter on the other side. That's what our pinch point is right now. Because you can see right at that pinch point, we have about only 10 feet from the planter right there. And then 10 feet on the other side, like 10 feet, 5 inches from the other side.
Okay. And
That's
you
really
need
a
to be
pinch
able to
point
get
in that
past this. You need to be able to get past the office, the new office, and out to the runway in that direction, or would you come
That's
through
what
your
we're using
path
is
of
the
travel?
door.
Sorry, let me finish, please. So you come out of that door just where the arrow where it says path of travel is, that is the egress from the lower level of the terminal?
That's right.
Is that, okay. So to continue out, you would just simply continue to the right and down that walkway, and you're on the land side of the fence at that point?
Yes.
No,
Okay.
Mr.
No,
Chair.
you're still on the airport operation side because your
Okay.
fence is still protecting you from coming to the land side.
Okay.
So that's the access for getting into and out from gate 5, which is the ground boarding gate. You come downstairs and go through that door. And so for this stretch, the passengers are walking under the trellis that Alicia was describing earlier. So that
Okay,
is on
great.
the air side of the security fence.
Okay. And then there's no other door though to the above that in plan where existing switchgear is, there's no other egress or doors or anything there. Is
No.
that right?
From the existing building, no.
Okay. So what's stopping you from pushing the ramp closer to the concrete planter?
We're just trying to keep a distance between the existing planter and this new building, just so that you have some space to walk around that ramp if need be.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, if I could add, there would be occasion for employees using this office to go direct to the ramp on the, to service aircraft, either for, loading or unloading baggage or whatever. So there, being able to get around that ramp is a design feature that it will need.
Okay.
Yeah.
In my mind, there just seems to be a different way to combine these offices to get the access you need and then be able to snug it up more towards the building so it's not projecting more than it needs to out to be visible. But okay, does anyone else have any follow-up questions?
Yes.
Okay, Leon, go ahead.
Would you review again the logic that was used to have this be a modular building rather than using standard construction methods, which would have made it easier to match the existing building, which you said was one of your objectives?
The overriding factor is the cost of construction, something that we would need to then demolish and reconstruct with a proper addition within, even if it's within a 10-year time frame, the cost to construct would be difficult to recover. And so a modular building as an intermediate step toward ultimately expanding the building to the north is trying to be as low of a budget hit as possible.
Thank you.
Mr.
Richard?
Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Richard.
to follow up on your question, I think if I'm not mistaken, if you look at the plan, you have a 9'9" from the planter wall to the face of the building. That has to, you have to switch back along that ramp. So you have to get, you have to get to the foot of the ramp with 4 feet, and then you have to get up the ramp. So that's, 4 and 4, 8, so Kevin, I think that's the reason it's pushed away from the planter wall. Is that not correct? Is that switchback? You first have to go towards the building, the main terminal, and then you turn it up the ramp into the project. So there's 2 widths of path you need to take. Is that correct?
So can I, Andrew, I don't
Yes,
know if
please.
you can zoom in. There's about 10 foot 5 inches between the planter and the building. Half of it is taken up by the width of the ramp and the remaining half is access. So you come out of this walkway where the dashed line is and you go straight up to the ramp, or you can turn right immediately and go next to the ramp.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
get
a
it.
double leg. It's not a
not-
double ramp, Richard.
I understand, but the essential flat part along the ramp is essential to get to the foot of the ramp.
That's right.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
Dennis, did you have a question?
Well, yes, I'm maybe getting into the weeds here, but it's a follow-up to Mr. Olson's comment with Mr. Berman's response about the costs. As I understand it from your proposal, these are for the airlines offices. So aren't the airlines paying for it, or is it the airport that's paying for it?
Board Member Whelan, the airport is paying for it. The airlines would be tenants of the airport department, so they would be paying rent when they take occupancy.
Okay, any other questions? All right, let's move on to comments. Who would like to go first? All right, Dennis.
Sure, I will. First, please understand, I understand the predicament that you're in and you've made some wide choices. However, my 30 years of experience of campus planning, where we had over 75,000 square feet of modular buildings, some of which were 50 years old. Forgive me for being a little bit jaded about this idea of them being semi-permanent. And with that in mind, I think the design could go a lot farther to relate to the existing building, which was a statement. I don't think it relates to the existing building at all, not in site design and not in building design. Again, I understand your predicament. It seems that, pardon me, the design has taken with that unfortunate set of circumstances, the position that, well, it'll only be seen from the land side. And to that end, there is a gesture of an enlarged cornice. I would like to focus back on member 6's observation about the windows. I think there's a great deal of flexibility that you can do with fenestration in these buildings that would bring it into some sort of relationship with the existing building. Right now, I don't see any relationship between the fenestration as proposed. And then certainly something should be done or carefully thought about the roof impact, because it's, I'm sorry, the visual impact of the roof from the existing terminal, because certainly it will not only be seen, it will be reflecting a great deal of light and perhaps obscuring or diminishing any view of the mountains. I think that pretty well summarizes my comments.
Okay. Anybody else with comments? Richard?
Yes, I wholeheartedly concur with Mr. Whalen's comments. The nature of these quote unquote temporary structures is that they're there for a very long time. And this doesn't, it's so disappointing that we have a brand new, beautiful terminal, and we're already going to start bandaging hemorrhages of poor quality architecture, or not even architecture, structures onto it as need be. I can't accept this at all. I think that it has to come a far way to harmonize with the existing building. I don't think that it's smart to put decoration on this thing, such as false arches or trellises attached to the cornice or whatever. That's goofy stuff, but it's got to be handsome. The window proportions have to be, as again, Mr. Whalen said, have to be sympathetic with the architecture. If I'm in doubt of a flat roof, I just cannot see this being anything other than considered a permanent building and to be harmonized with the existing beautiful structure that we have now in our airport. That's it.
Okay. Does anyone have a differing opinion or anything to add to that?
Well, I can only add my support to what's been said. I think that the fact that what might be keeping this from a more standard architecture is cost. And as a former developer, that was not a reason that was usually accepted for something that wasn't necessarily appropriate.
Okay. David, anything to add?
No, I have to say, I wholeheartedly agree with the comments that have been made.
Okay. Dennis, you had some follow-up?
Yes, a follow-up. I spoke about the process or the view from the design point of view is from the land side. But for me as an air traveler, coming back to Santa Barbara is really a powerful experience. And if you're not on a jetway, you're going to be exiting on the tarmac. And this is what you're going to see when you return to our beautiful Santa Barbara. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that was going to be my comment. I recall walking that pathway a couple times, so that would be unfortunate, I think. So I don't know if there's any way of hiding this. I don't know if there's possibilities of temporary landscaping screening that might cover this up some way, but I don't know. It's just an unfortunate proposal. So we do need a motion. Would somebody like to take a crack at it?
Well, I will say that that the proposal as presented, including the siting, location, and architecture is unacceptable, as it does not contribute to the beauty of the existing airport or harmonize or contribute to the beauty of the existing architecture, and that the applicant should study other ways to solve their program, period.
Second.
Okay. Okay, seconded by Mr. Olson. Any discussion? No? Okay, let's have our vote.
Could we have it read,
Mr.
please?
Chair,
Yes.
I apologize,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, for the interruption.
Go ahead.
Just to confirm, this motion is for indefinite continuance, correct?
Yes, indefinite continuance to the planning commission. I think that it's appropriate, is it not, in the process to have a vote instead of just comments. Is that correct, Ted or Kevin?
Well, that's what we're doing. You've made the motion, and
Yeah.
we're gonna vote on that. Now, this question for staff, is it appropriate to continue it to the planning commission at this time, or do we want to give the applicant the option to return to ABR?
Mr. Chair, typically, if an item does not have positive comments prior to going to planning commission, the design review board in general would, continue the item back to the design review board for, further comments and evaluation.
Okay, then my motion would be to indefinite continuance back to the full board.
Okay, is that acceptable, Mr. Olson?
Yes, but I'd like to hear
Hear the motion.
the motion read.
I would too.
All right, so the motion is to continue indefinitely to the full board with the following comments. The proposal, including the site and architecture, is not acceptable as it does not contribute to the beauty of the existing airport and the architecture, and study other ways to solve the program.
Great.
Great, okay. Short and sweet. All right, let's take our roll call vote.
All right, thank you. So we have Chair Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Six,
Yes.
Board Member Black,
Yes.
Board Member Olson,
Yes.
and Board Member Whalen.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. And with that, I believe that was our only item on the agenda today. So we can,
That's correct, Chair Moore.
okay, great. So then we can close our meeting of the Architecture Board of Review for September 21st. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, bye all. Thank you.
Thank you.